Boom! And just like that, we are live once again. How's it going? As always, Nate Mumford, Director of Sales Engineering over here at RCS. Still hanging out with you every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time for an RCS Live. As you know, we got a housekeeping to take care of first, but we're really excited for today's video. We're going to talk everything about hotkeys, the redesigned hotkeys in Zetta 521.2. And just so many great ways you can interpret the hotkeys. Because remember, they're both audio and non-audio triggers. A lot of stuff to show you today. Some really cool stuff. As always, we have our chat open. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter Live, and all of that good stuff. So if you have a question for me, I have it open here as well. Let's see here, going with my list of things. Zetta 521.2 was released this week. Yes, we are so excited for that. Some really great features. So I'm using that build right here, just so you know. So these are all the great things you can do in Zetta 521.2. If you want to upgrade, go ahead and reach out to your local RCS contact. We'll schedule an upgrade and go from there. Of course, it's free as long as you have RCS support, which you have anyway. So I want to make sure we talk about that. We're also on the road. I know that I'm heading to Momentum 2022 next week. We're going to be at Louisiana Broadcasters. I know we were just in Radio Days over in Europe. There's some great conferences over there as well. So if you're out and about, want to hang out with us, let us know. We're here to answer your questions any way how, either online virtually or in person or over the phone. Whatever we can do to help out, let us know. We're definitely here for you. Don't forget to check out those backups, data exchanges, feature Fridays. Always looking for beta users for G Selector 5.0 and Acquira 3.21.2. Let's see here. Installations are installations as usual. I know that COVID's kind of an uptick a little bit over here, so it's really what you're comfortable doing. We can do on-site or remote installations too, but we're seeing, really to be honest with you, we're just kind of chugging along as we would, COVID or not COVID. So we're pretty booked up as well. Just if those chip shortages weren't a thing. Right, Rich? Absolutely. If only there was some place you can check out past videos. Oh, wait, there is over on archive, rcsworks.com/rcs-live. This could be a great video for you to check out. I'm going to have a lot of great features in regards to how to interpret that. So I will say first things first. I always kind of maximize my resolution here so you can get a nice, big Zetta. And I realized that I was working with I like a very small resolution because I like to go and move things around. And so I did realize that I designed all of this with multiple hotkey banks and all of that good stuff, and then I expanded it. So just so you know, it's all about real estate here. So personally, I'm going to talk about having multiple hotkey banks in there. It's going to look a lot cleaner when I'm not streaming over here live. So let's dive right into it. Talk about Zetta Hot Keys. So one of the things I want to kind of present to you when we talk about Zetta Hot Keys is the big picture stuff, right? Now, typically, we interpret these hotkeys as just straightforward shortcuts, right? So I can have, let's say, a song or a sweeper, have it available, play it on there, and boom, we're good to go, right? But the reality is that now that we have these introduction of remote workflows, you might have heard me say this a couple of times before, remote compound hybrid workflows. And you're like, wow, Nate, it's a lot of buzzwords. And I know, but the idea there is that we're taking a very simple step, we're building it out, expanding it, and then, of course, firing or executing this step, this workflow remotely with our Zetta to go, right? So when I say certain things like, for example, these hotkeys are non-audio triggers, I mean they're non-audio triggers that are reflected over in Zetta to go. And the latest was Zetta 521.2, we're again blending that line between Zetta and Zetta to go. But as you know me, I always say, remember, Zetta to go is made to enhance the Zetta experience, not replace the Zetta experience. So let's talk about our hotkeys. First things first, it's all about the layout. Don't forget, left click, I can move these up, down, left, right, snap them to a grid, but I can also take that same grid, put it in that boom, just like this. I'm going to take my Zetta editor here. I'm going to move this to the left. I'm going to take another little hotkeys here, take this hotkey bank here, and I'm going to I'll put it right in the center just like this. Again, had it originally have an up down kind of thing, so two hotkey banks in order. Again, it's the resolution. That's the biggest thing. So we talk about adding a hotkey bank. What we can do here is this is a kind of our visually speaking. We have the on air or audition, which we'll cover just a little bit. This lock button means that we can edit it or we can't edit it based on your user settings. We have options to add a new hotkey bank, edit a hotkey bank, copy, edit, delete, or I have some Zcast options here for a hotkey bank as well. And again, I do have my chat going on here. So if you have any questions in here, let me know, right? I'm going over here to my live chat as well, right, Henrik? How's it going, Henrik? And so we can do here is let's just first add a hotkey bank. Like, what are we doing here, right? So the name we'll call this RCS Live Hotkeys, right? A description. This is for RCS Live. Now we have rows and columns. So I'll just keep it a 3 by, 3. The stations that it's activated on, you can highlight more than one. I'll just put RCS Hot AC for right now and do station groups, all stations. That's kind of for, play streams and stuff like that. That gives us this little hotkey bank here. Of course, I can always edit it after the fact. Edit current hotkey bank. Maybe I want to do an F4 and do like a 4, something like that. Boom, just like this. Very, very simple, very easy. I'm going to take this and move it over actually, no, wait, I forgot. I flipped it. Everything in Zetta, as you know, is left click, drag, and drop. I can take this element here, left click, drag it over. I can do this over here, left click, drag it over, just like that. Move that hotkey here, boom, just like this, boom, just like that as well, right? And so what we can do at this point in time, right, is we can start really customizing our hotkey banks, right? So I can do here is I created a brand new feature in Zetta 521.2 is this idea of a master bank, a navigation, if you will, from hotkey banks. Now, I created on the left-hand side here, just essentially an overall hotkey bank, just navigating, right? So I go to like say Nate Hotkeys, go back to the master bank if I wanted to. Now over here on the right-hand side, that's kind of more my typical everyday, right? So I can kind of go and say, hey, load a 6x6 bank. And you notice I have a hotkey bank here, return to where I am, right? Or I can just have a master bank and jump as well. It's a really cool new feature in Zetta 521.2 because, again, look how I'm interpreting it. On the left-hand side, it's my master bank. And then on the right-hand side, it's kind of my more specific bank, if you will. So a lot of flexibility there as well, right? That's a brand new feature in Zetta 521.2. So if I jump over here to, let's say I'm going to go to that, where's that RCS Live hotkey bank, right? This is my brand new bank that I created. Let's go ahead and actually edit and add some of these hotkeys. As you know, we left click, drag, and drop. That's what we did. But if I wanted to go and let's say add something unique, this is the brand new feature, the redesigned hotkeys in Zetta 521.2. So check this out. So from any hotkey, we can audition it. From here, some more audition options there. We can copy and paste. We can clear a key. There's a hook we're going to talk about in just a second. Actually, why not? Just talk about it. Right click. See that hook is off. Now the hook is on, 6 seconds. I can fire that hook with just 6 seconds. Click again to stop. And then hook that on. Hook that disabled. There's that overall intro time there, right? From there, we can go and set the stream. This is really cool. Inside of Zetta, whenever I try to talk about how flexible and customizable Zetta is, I always talk about the idea that there's a true unique customization aspect. And it's hard sometimes to describe because it's like, what do you want? Well, I just want it to work. I get that. But no, what do you want to happen? When we talk about Zetta and these RCS products like G Selector and Acquira and Revma and all that good stuff, we're really talking about is what do you want to achieve here? Let us know what you're trying to achieve. And there's probably a configuration, a setting, or a workflow we can introduce to achieve those results. So whenever I talk about play streams in Zetta, we talk about analog or audio over IP or WheatNet or Axia or all that good stuff. We work with everybody. And that's because you look at something like this. We can actually set the play stream for our hotkey banks based on the button, the row, the column, or the bank if we wanted to. Think about that for a second. I can have multiple hotkey banks for the morning show. And then I can then have, let's say, one play out on one pot versus another, audition 1, hotkey 2, stuff like that. And then, of course, I can assign those to different users. So if I'm, let's say, a morning show and I have a side talent that doesn't have, let's say, not run right in front of the board controlling the on-air product, but they're still part of the morning show, I can give them an an iPad. I can give an iPad or a laptop with Zetta to go. They can have that open with a bunch of hotkeys, and they can essentially fire those hotkeys. Those hotkeys have assigned play devices that are here that are tied to the board. And then that person running the board can essentially always have the Nate pot, which is the sound effects pot, up and on at all times. Stuff like that, right? So hopefully you can start to see we're expanding some of these everyday workflows, right? So here's the brand new thing we can do. Right click, edit this key here. This is that brand new feature over in Zetta 521.2. This is so cool. When we're talking about just left click, drag and drop, pretty typical, easy across the board, songs, sweepers, whatever it may be. When you're first building some of these hotkeys, we really want to have more control, as in, what are we adding? And boom, there we go. We have the asset, we have a comment, execute command, load the bank. That's the navigation I talked about earlier, or a macro. And this could be essentially just macro. We pick our macro here. These are ones that I've pre-built, right? So let's say activate hot spare. Give it a name. This is activate hot spare, right? Give it a color if we wanted to. Boom. Here's all our colors. There's also advanced too, just so you know. There's all the advanced colors here if we wanted to do that. And again, I just pick a color. We'll just call this blue, activate hot spare, save this right here. Boom. There's my hot spare, right? Pretty cool, right? Now, the other cool thing is look up here in the top right. See these kind of icons here? These also serve a purpose. So that single hotkey, that is applying to just the button. This, however, is applying to the row. This is applying to the column, or this is the entire bank itself. Remember, a lot of props to our Zetta team here, because we really tried to encompass not only multiple users and preferences, but the user experience is very important to us. And that's why we include some of these things over here. And so, for example, I can take that row, right? And I can go ahead and say, everybody get that color blue, and hit save. And now look, the entire row is blue. And it's also important to note that obviously if there's no hotkey there, it's not going to change the color because there is no hotkey there. All right. So that's really cool. I'll close this. I'll right click on this edit hotkey here. Again, go to the event, and you can see there's extra commands. There's that load bank I talked about earlier. I can just go over here and pick like Nate's hotkey bank and save that just like that. There's Nate's hotkey bank. That's going to navigate through as well. So this is really, really powerful. Again, look at this event. The assets, aside from left click, drag and drop, comments, execute commands, load banks, and macros, they're all in here. Super, super easy. And just remember, if you are, let's say, an administrator and you have any questions on this, there is that lock option. So you can lock some of these things as well for control if you wanted to, right? Let's see, Joachim, question. Could you elaborate more? So the question was, is there any news regarding Zetta to go? So we're going to encompass some Zetta to go stuff here. Just so you know, one of the beauty things about Zetta to go is that if we have the hotkeys in Zetta, we save it, those same hotkeys are reflected over in Zetta to go. And I do have it queued up here. We will talk about Zetta to go as well. So for example, I can just go, if I drag, let's say this good for you over here, that's a hotkey we just added, Joachim. Right? If I jump back to my Zetta to go, look what's there. That brand new hotkey right there. So we're talking about any news regarding Zetta to go. They're definitely in there. Definitely a lot of features in there as well. If you're looking for a specific feature or function, let me know. Ask your question. I'll be make sure to answer it as well. So these are hotkeys here. I want to take a second and talk about essentially what I'm looking at here. Perfect. Nice. Great. Awesome. So what am I looking at here, right? I got a lot of colors. It's fancy. Sure. Whenever I do my RCS demos, I always try to incorporate a couple different scenarios in here in regards to hotkeys. Because again, my job here is to show you things that you can do, because you remember from RCS Live, how do you know how to do something if no one told you how to do it in the first place? That's what this is here for. So I took the navigation, hotkeys here. Right? If I take these logs, I'm just going to drag this over here. And so, for example, I can take this empty voice track that I added earlier, Just put it in, boom, there's an empty voice track slot on the fly if you needed it. This conference link, this is going to be essentially our Revma conference link to broadcast live for morning shows. It's an on-off switch. I have some past RCS live videos on there too, but this can be just a macro, a GPIO, if you will. This could be your tie line, Comrex, the brick line, breaking news on a telephone. We had one of our clients is a news talk, but very small market, not a very large staff, but they wanted to, of course, super serve their area. And so what they did is they kind of went a little workaround old school. They went to their board. Now, this is analog. I should point out when you have a digital audio over IP board, there's a lot more functionality here, especially in the world of tying to Zetta. What you can do in the analog is you can essentially have a pot. This is what they did. I'm not saying this is the best case scenario. This is just kind of what they did. They had the pot up and on. They kind of taped it so the fader was always at the appropriate level, and they would have a GPO that triggered the pot to go on or off. And that's what this icon does. It turns that pot on and off. That pot was tied to a landline, and if they had breaking news, and again, this station was only like one or two individuals. What they would do is they would go on Zetta to Go. They would enable that hotkey from there. They would call in the telephone line. And again, they would control the on-air product from their Zetta right here, right? Do something like this. Put this in manual mode. When this is 3, 2, 1, jumping back to my Zetta, you can see them in manual mode. They would stop. They would enable this hotkey, talk on the phone, breaking news. This is happening. This is happening. This is happening. When they were done, fire this next element, put it back in live assist mode. Going back to my Zetta, boom, we're back on the air, right? They would then turn off that macro, that XU command, that hotkey, and then, of course, hang up the phone. The beauty of radio, right? The beauty and magic of radio. So let's see. Have I missed a lot of juice? I don't think you missed a lot of juice so far. Not yet, but we'll get there. Don't you worry, man. So let's see here. So we're going through the list of hotkeys here, talking all about Zetta's brand new redesigned hotkeys. Available right now, by the way, Zetta 521.2 just released this week. And of course, in talking about big picture stuff, right? So we got the songs, we got sweepers. Oh, really important to note, by the way, remember activations, run dates, and hour restrictions. We always tell you there's no way an element can play if it's not active or is allowed to play on that station. That's why each one of these modules has the station drop down. And that's because we have certain things like over here, right? So I have this I cannot play sweeper. Notice, by the way, it's got a red X. That's because I cannot play in a restricted hour. I know for a fact this element is here intentionally by me to show you it can't play. Look, I can't play this. No problem. This one can't play. What if I drag and drop it over here? Guess what? Can't play. Oh, I always tell users, how do you know why it can't play? Hover over it, cannot play in a restricted hour. That's pretty convenient, right? Whoever thought of that was pretty smart. So again, if there's anything in the hotkeys that can't play, run dates, hour restrictions, activations, even if you add it to a hotkey bank, it cannot play. The same applies to your Zetta to Go. From there, I have a rotator here too. So I can throw in a little rotation if I wanted to and resolve that rotator. I have just a kind of a macro here, play next, fade out. I have some users that, just want very, very simple, old school, big giant, play next, stop, that type of thing. So just a play next, fade out, fire this. Notice, by the way, I can set the custom name on this as well. Right click, edit key, this label right here, that's the custom name, just so you know. From there, I have this. Ooh, this is fun. I have, hey, Nate, run me Friday at 3 p.m. What is this? Right, Matt? What is this? What's going on with this hotkey? Can you tell me? Because this has really no purpose. It just says, hey, Nate, run me Friday at 3 p.m. What does this do? And this is a great way of encompassing, radio these days. We are a audio company, right? We focus on audio. That's our goal. Podcasting, all of that good stuff. So we have, I designed this with one of our clients. They had essentially 5 morning shows. Each morning show had 5 different destinations. And essentially we had 25 podcasts. If only there was a way, see where I'm going with this, to export all 25 podcasts in one simple click. Guess what? There is. It's part of our publish feature. Just so you know, we have some past videos on that. But this is all being done by the publish feature. It's one of the few add-ons in the Zetta world. And the idea is an automatic process to export audio outside of Zetta. So what I have here is this is a macro. In that macro, I have essentially in my library, if I go over here, go to my mini logs, there's a best of morning show. This best of morning show, of course, has multiple assets that I recorded from Zetta's background recorder. Very in-depth. This is a really cool feature. I'm not going to talk about it right now. I just want to show you. If you're curious about more of this, let me know. We'll talk offline about it. But the idea is I have this best of morning show with all my assets. I voice track, introduce it, all of that. I can play this in the log inside of Zetta. I can play this on repeat on an HD2 if I wanted to. But I can also export it if I wanted to. That's what this is. It's a macro taking that one best of morning show and exporting it to 5 different locations. That's what I'm doing there. So again, this is really irrelevant. I'm just queuing up myself. Hey, Nate, run me Friday at 3 p.m. because that's when I know the best of morning show is done. This is me sending essentially 5 morning shows to 5 locations for a total of 25 podcasts I'm creating with a simple hotkey. Click it, fire it. It gets delivered to all locations. Oh, and by the way, it's also right here over in Zetta to go. So if I was remote, right, let's just say I was a morning show producer running late, had an appearance, whatever it is, kick off the summer party, right? I can go in after and say, oh, I have to do it. It's done. It's saved. Let me go over here and export that from Zetta to go. Boom, done as well, right? We have other users. This is really cool. We have some users that are syndicated nights and overnights. They have a setting here where essentially they're leaving for the day and they're coming back. What they do is they essentially close Zetta. So they're just leaving for the day. Now I'm going to quickly enable this. You'll see it's in live assist, right? Because I'm technically live on the air, assisting Zetta and operating. What they're told to do is they click on this leaving for the day, bright red, puts it back in auto mode, just like that. They close Zetta. This disables the board as part of the GPO. Everybody comes in, clicks on all the board. They can't open Zetta. All this is Windows desktop. Very uneventful because we don't want any possible issues. That's the idea there. And so once they log back in, they open up Zetta. Remember, Zetta has the detached play button. We can still operate on the air with Zetta closed, usually in a machine in the rack room. And then from there, when they first come in, they log in. That gives them their own profile. They click on this hotkey over here, enable the board. That, of course, enables the board, puts them in live assist mode, and boom, they're good to go. The other thing that we can also do here is change our audio routes or our play streams. Think of this as an engineering hotkey bank. Remember, we're talking about very unique ways of interpreting hotkeys, not the traditional just I'm a morning show talent playing sound effects and bells and whistles. No, I'm talking about doing some engineering, GPIOs, audio routing, play streams, moving those things around. And again, these are available here over in our Zetta to go. Look at that hot spare. Again, this enable the board, live assist. Look at that, auto mode, just like this, live assist, auto mode. See that macro that's being fired? See that change over here? Yep, that's all being done as well. So at this point in time, we can go and activate some of our hot sparing. Click on this. Notice these audio device changes from 1 to 9. Remember, in regards to play streams, we're talking about hot sparing. We're essentially not moving machines. We're moving play devices. So RCS Hot AC was on pot 1, 2, 3. I'm moving it down to 7, 8, 9, and maybe the production studio, right? Notice how 1, 2, 3, now there's 9s. Jumping back to deactivate the hot spare or returning back to our traditional play streams. I can click on that, and all of a sudden here, we're back to 1A and 1B. You see that? Again, we're moving play streams based on a hot spare, but this can just be audio routing, right? Take the CNN feed, take the Fox News feed, take this feed, take the whatever, studio routing feed if you wanted to. That's in there too. Again, these are all hotkeys. And all I had to do here is just right click on this, edit this key. Look, there's my macro. activate hot spare. That's all I'm doing there, just so you know. And oh, if only there was some older video over at, I don't know, our archive at rcsworks.com/rcs-live that you can see hot sparing. Yes, we have a full video on hot sparing over on our archive page as well. Right? Any questions so far? Again, big picture. Look at all these brand new features in Zetta 521.2. We are looking at unique ways of interpreting hotkeys. We've already covered the master bank here. So again, RCS hotkeys. I have a master bank to navigate all of these. Boom, something like this. Boom, something like that. I have unique ways of adding audio in here. I didn't even get to show you yet. I mean, I can go ahead and take this. I'll pick my station here, RCS Hot AC. Let me go and do let me close this. Let me bring a new editor up. What am I doing here? Let's check editor. And I'm going to go ahead and dock this side by side. I'll pick my station. I'll pick Pharrell, drag them over. I've covered this in the past. Just right click, go to add a clip, moving fast, RCS live. I know for time purposes, take that clip, bring them over here, bloop. And right there, just like that, I create a quick record on the fly that I can attach to a hotkey to play on the air, boom, live in real time. Look at that. That was just a couple seconds. And I'm creating audio assets. This is great for a news talk station. Have that full press conference by the mayor, isolate elements, have a clip, left click, drag and drop it into a stacks module or a hotkey. Really cool stuff there. Of course, right click, clear that key when I'm done. So let's see here. Sam was asking here. Great question, Sam. Can you explain the hotkey lock function a little more? Is that a new feature in 521.2? I can't remember if it's 521.2 or previously, but it's a relatively new feature. The idea here is just that you have this locked, right? If I have it locked, notice, look, I can't really add an element here. I can't copy. I can't paste. It's a way to have a functionality here where I can essentially go, I just added that key. I can essentially just have things locked. I can't really go and add things or edit things in here. And again, I can save that. There's some, I believe, settings, the user rights and restrictions as well on how you can turn that on and turn that off. So if you do have an administrative kind of perspective, you can kind of lock these hotkeys. I found typically they're good for users who don't want a complicated layout, want a little more simple, Sam. And then you can just say, hey, here's your layout. We're going to lock it. That's what you can do, something like that. So hopefully that answers your questions there. All right. Let's see here. A couple other things before we forget, going down our lines. The on-air versus the audition. On-air versus audition. This is a very cool functionality. Obviously, on-air means it's on the air and has a certain assigned play stream to it. If we're in, let's say, the studio and we put an audition, we can always assign a separate audition play stream. Notice these are grayed out because these are GPIOs, non-audio triggers. They can't play because they're not on the air. They don't have that kind of functionality. I'll cover this more in, I think, a future RCS Live. But did you know there is a way to essentially allow this on-air audition to be reconciled into your log? Go to your config, go to your stations, pick your station, and then log event settings. Right down here, reconciliation plays from other modules via the log, right? So I can say that if I'm in on-air mode in the hotkeys and I fire it, I want to reconcile the play in the log module. You can see here the songs. From there, we define the play threshold. So if I have a spot, let's say that comes from our hotkey bank, and I have that spot played roughly 90% all the way through, I want to include that spot as part of the reconciliation log, right? That's in there. So that's a really cool functionality as well. And you can see we break these down by all types of audio and asset types, spots, links, songs. So you might say something like, hey, I don't want to include the links in the reconciliation. They're just sweepers, nothing really exciting there. Whereas spots and songs, yeah, I want to include those in the reconciliation. Notice, by the way, I did a time for song. I did a percentage for spot, right? A little bit different there because let's be honest, sometimes you get a classic rock station with a song with a long fade out. You don't want to get any gotchas in there, right? You don't want a song that has like a 30-second fade out or something crazy you have in the system. So we do either numbers or percentages. That's really cool, though. That's going to be, again, configuration, stations, log event settings, and again, reconcile plays from other log modules. That's going to be here, the on air versus the audition, right? And don't forget, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Don't forget, we're going to be on the road too. The Louisiana Broadcasters and Momentum next week. So if you want to see any of these live in person, let me know. Jim's going to be over Louisiana. I'm going to be over Momentum in Orlando. You can stop on by and say hi. Now, with Zetta to go here, again, I'm talking about ways that users can interpret these workflows. There's nothing stopping you. We had this great new install over in Cincinnati. Got to give them a shout out over there. What they did is they had the morning show, 5-person morning show. We had the person running the board. They're in control of all the operations. We had all of the team members on the side. And what they did is they had their iPads there, their laptops. They opened up Zetta to go. And what they did there is just kind of look over here and just say, hey, what's going on? Like, what's happening in the on air? They had the log module queued up if they wanted to, but they can also have all of these hotkeys. And again, on air is on the air. Local is for voice tracking, right? This is Zetta to go. On air is on air. Local is for voice tracking. And by the way, see this here? That's your volume fader for voice tracking. And yes, there is some behavior here for how you interpret these hotkeys in regards to voice tracking. They are definitely in there. Check out the Zetta to go deep dive video on our archive to find out those hotkey behaviors as well. So what I can do here is this is on the air is on the air. I can fire this Pharrell happy, and guess what? That's over the air live in real time. I can, again, go fire this macro. Look at that. It's there in real time. We added this good for you. So I can go back to my Zetta. I can, let's say, take this clip, RCS Live, drag it over here, go back to my, look, boom, there's my Zetta to go, live, just like that. That's a little more of that Zetta 521.2 over there, Matt, right? Or I guess it was Joachim. That's some of those new features in there. Some real-time, instant RCS hotkey updates. Those are really cool. And again, you can have multiple hotkey banks open here just like this. So if you're a morning show team member, you can look at this and say, okay, here's all my hotkeys. I got some sound effects. I got some sweepers. I got some of this. And again, you can put bits on there as well. Multiple hotkeys, have some navigation here as well. A lot of functionality on there too, right? And again, with Zetta to go, as I mentioned, these play streams beforehand, these are just, hotkeys that have GPIOs and all those. So again, look at that 1A, switch it again. That's going to jump over there to 9, right? Versus going back to over here, there's that 1 again. The idea is that I'm changing the play devices in there. I can make that audio routing. I can make that different shows, different studios. I can, of course, as I mentioned earlier, have some like phone lines, or that could be, again, the Comrex brick, breaking news. That's how we're broadcasting live with those Comrexes remotely. I really encourage your team members to have a station laptop with a VPN attached to it that's built in, that's safe for security. Then, of course, you have a USB microphone, maybe a processor attached to it, make it sound pretty good. Go to that car appearance. Go to that diner for the best of morning show on Fridays at 6 a.m. where you're going having coffee with the morning show or coffee with the mayor. You could sit there and go to your Zetta to go, and you can essentially just, look at that. We have essentially the on air here. Just a reminder, we have the logs down here as well. I can see what's going on, fire my hotkeys, change the routes and control this too. So put this in manual mode. Hey, I don't need to have Selena Gomez in here. I'm going to skip that because we're going to talk to the mayor. So, but there's Selena Gomez is gone. So you can see that's skipped. Again, going back to the log here, you can see there's no Selena Gomez. That log over here, there's Selena Gomez is skipped. And again, just to show you here, because we're here, where is my skip button? Boom, unskip it, go back to my Zetta to go. There's Selena Gomez back in the mix as well. We are essentially a morning show, a user operating remotely, controlling everything from our Zetta via Zetta to go. And that includes routes, GPIOs, non-audio triggers from our hotkeys. Really cool stuff, right? So hopefully you can see what I've been trying to promote here is that these hotkeys are not just basic like, hey, I'm going to play a sweeper. I'm going to play a doorbell sound effect. No. you can have a lot of control here. And yes, there is some user rights and restrictions with hotkeys, so they can see certain things, station specific, and all of that good stuff as well. So, in case you're curious about some of that, yes, we have that built in as well. So, just to recap here, I'm going to give you a last call for questions. Last call for questions here, just so you know. Okay. Again, we introduced a brand new concept here of the hotkeys in Zetta 521.2 with a master bank. Fire this. There's a 6x6. All I'm doing is returning back to these hotkeys. That's all I'm doing here. Hotkey master bank. Just navigating. That's all I'm doing. How am I navigating? Right click, edit this key. Got a brand new box here. You can see the asset, comment, execute command, load bank, or a macro. That load bank is very simple. Just click it, choose your bank, choose your color, save it. Remember, individual. We can do the rows. See that blue outline over there versus the column, the blue outline versus the overall, everybody involved as well. So there's a lot of functionality there if you wanted to. Taking your hotkeys to the next level. Having, things you care about, empty voice tracks, audio routing, firing GPOs for like breaking news lines, putting quick records or sweepers in for news, having big giant buttons, play, stop, nothing wrong with that either. Having your, export 25 podcasts from your hotkey via Zetta or Zetta to go. Disable, enable the board, change your audio routing as well. There's so many things you can do with hotkeys, which is very, very powerful in the world of radio, right? Makes sense. And of course, if you're out and about, we'll be in Louisiana. We'll be in Orlando next week as well for Momentum and Louisiana Broadcasters. We have more events coming on the pipeline as well. Makes sense? Hopefully your brain's like, I never thought of that. That's the idea. That's the purpose of these RCS lives. So let's check my list, make sure I didn't forget anything here. No, I'm all good on my notes. So I will see you. I'm stalling for time here, as you can tell. I will see you next Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. As always, it's our RCS Live. We take one of our RCS products, Zetta, G Selector, Acquira, RCS News, Revma, you say it. We'll break it down for you, give you some tips and tricks, and hopefully show you something that you didn't realize you can do in this software. Because as you can tell, this is a very powerful piece of radio automation software. So thank you so much. I'll see you next Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern time for RCS Live. I'm Nate.